He was ready to leave, until a little boy's voice stopped him. "Sir, Mom can't walk anymore." The rain poured down in heavy sheets, turning the city streets into rivers of glimmering asphalt. He stood under the flickering neon of a small convenience store, drenched and exhausted, staring at the empty roads ahead. His coat, once a sharp navy blue, was now soaked through, clinging to his frame like a second skin. The night had been long, and his patience even longer. He had been doing this for years, helping people, giving advice, lending a hand where he could, but tonight felt different. Tonight, he was ready to leave it all behind. The weight of disappointment and fatigue pressed against his chest, suffocating him. He was done. Life had a way of punishing even the most well-intentioned souls, and he was tired of taking the hits. He thought he had given all he could, yet somehow the world had always demanded more. As he reached for the car door, ready to drive away and disappear into the night, a small voice trembled through the downpour. "Sir, Mom can't walk anymore." He froze. His hand lingered on the handle, the words echoing in his ears, cutting through the fog of his exhaustion. He looked down and saw a little boy, no more than 7 or 8, clutching a tattered backpack that was almost bigger than he was. His face was streaked with rain, his wide eyes shining with a mixture of fear and hope. The boy's shoes were soaked through, and his small frame shivered as he waited, silent and pleading. Something inside him, a spark long buried under years of cynicism, stirred. He couldn't leave, not this time. Not when someone so small, so fragile, was standing there with a plea that demanded more than just sympathy. He stepped forward, slowly kneeling to meet the boy's gaze, and felt the weight of responsibility press down on him like a storm heavier than the one overhead. The boy explained, in halting sentences between gasps from the cold, that his mother had fallen ill weeks ago. She used to work 2 jobs to keep food on the table, to keep a roof over their heads, but now her legs no longer carried her. They had no relatives nearby. The neighbors were kind but busy, and the social services had a waiting list longer than the boy could comprehend. Every day, he helped her as best he could, carrying groceries, bringing water, and lifting her carefully from chair to bed. But some days, the burden was too much, and he would sit in the corner, helpless, as his mother struggled silently, trying not to show the pain in front of her son. He listened, heart clenching with every word, the city lights reflecting in the boy's eyes like tiny flames of desperation. The man's own troubles, which had seemed so monumental just minutes ago, now felt trivial in comparison. He realized that life wasn't about counting victories or measuring personal success. It was about these moments, these fleeting opportunities to step in and be the difference for someone who had nowhere else to turn. He offered his arm gently and guided the boy and his mother through the rain to his car. The mother, frail and pale, leaned heavily on her son, tears mixing with the rain on her cheeks. She whispered thanks that no words could truly capture, and the man nodded, unsure if his presence alone was enough, but willing to try anyway. That night they drove in silence, the sound of the rain against the roof a soft lullaby that carried unspoken promises. Over the following weeks he became a constant presence in their lives. He helped fix broken appliances in their small apartment, bought groceries, and arranged for medical care that the boy's mother could not have accessed on her own. But more than that, he offered companionship, laughter, and a sense of hope that had been missing from their home for too long. The boy, who had been so quiet and reserved, began to open up, sharing stories of school, of friends he barely saw, and dreams he thought would never come true. Each night, the mother, now slowly regaining her strength, would watch him talk to her son with a warmth she hadn't felt in years. It wasn't easy. There were days filled with setbacks and frustration. Bills piled up, appointments were missed, illness struck, and the boy's mother would collapse, trembling, leaving them both panicked and desperate. The man felt the sting of helplessness, the gnawing of doubt in his chest. But every time he thought about leaving, about walking away and returning to the comfort of his old solitary life, he would see the boy's eyes, wide, trusting, and unwavering, and he would stay. Because sometimes, staying mattered more than running. Sometimes courage wasn't about heroics, it was about simply showing up when it mattered most. One evening, months after that rainy night, the mother was finally able to walk across the living room without assistance. The little boy ran ahead, cheering, and the man watched from the doorway, heart swelling with a mix of relief and pride. Tears ran down her cheeks as she turned to him, eyes glistening, and whispered words of gratitude that needed no translation. In that moment, the man realized something profound. Life often gives second chances not to erase the past, but to create a future worth fighting for. And in giving, he had been given something even greater. A reminder that kindness, even when exhausting, never goes unrewarded. This story isn't just about him, or the little boy, or the woman learning to walk again. It's about all of us, about the choices we make in the smallest moments. It's about seeing a need and choosing not to look away. If you've ever felt like giving up, like the world had taken more than you could bear, remember that even one act of kindness can change the trajectory of someone's life. That night, under a relentless downpour, a small voice reminded him, and all of us, that hope can arrive in the smallest of packages, sometimes in the voice of a child asking for help. If this story moved you, if you believe in the power of kindness and second chances, please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. Let's remind the world that compassion still exists and that every gesture, no matter how small, carries meaning. Weeks turned into months, and the little family began to thrive in ways they hadn't imagined possible. The mother returned to light work, gradually regaining her independence. The boy, once shy and reserved, flourished in school, now confident in the knowledge that someone believed in him, that he was never truly alone. And the man, who had once been ready to leave everything behind, discovered that he didn't need to escape life's struggles to find purpose. Purpose had found him, in the form of those he chose to help, those he chose to stay for. Evenings were no longer spent in silence but filled with laughter, shared meals, and stories of triumphs big and small. The rain still fell from time to time, but now it brought a sense of renewal, a reminder that life could be beautiful even after storms. And the little boy, forever grateful, would often tug at the man's hand, reminding him that sometimes, just showing up is the most heroic thing anyone can do. As this story draws to a close, I want you to think about the moments in your own life where you have the power to make a difference. A small action, a kind word, a willingness to help. These are the things that leave an imprint on the world, things that matter more than any accolade or achievement. If this story touched your heart, if you feel the emotion of those rainy streets and that little boy's plea, please engage with this video. Comment below on what moved you the most. Share it with someone who might need hope, and remind the world that even in the darkest nights, light can arrive unexpectedly. Comment before the end and tell us what kindness has changed your life, because every story deserves to be shared. And remember, sometimes the smallest voices carry the loudest messages. Sometimes a single "Sir, Mom can't walk anymore" can transform lives, heal hearts, and remind us why we should never give up on each other.